To help honor the veterans of World War II, the Oklahoma News Report is featuring a series of Oklahoma World War II stories produced by OETA's Dick Pryor and Boots Kennedy. Dick Pryor is with us tonight to tell us more about this fascinating part 2 of the series.
Many young Americans figured the United States would get into World War II. They knew about Hitler's conquest of Europe. Some decided to go ahead and enter the service. Ready or not, after the attack of Pearl Harbor, those soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines were rushed into battle, not really knowing the challenges that lay ahead of them. In the Pacific provided some of the most indelible images of World War II. The Bataan Death March, MacArthur's return to the Philippines, the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the raising of the American flag at Iwo Jima. And there's another well-known picture that figures prominently in the promotion of Ken Burns' documentary, The War. A battle-weary American with penetrating eyes, rifle slung over his shoulder, dutifully walking across the island of Saipan in 1944. But that haunting image is part of a bigger photograph that actually shows 5 Americans, 1 on a stretcher and 4 carrying his lifeless body. The Marine in the foreground is an Oklahoman, Dale Luton of Tulsa, an ambulance driver in Saipan.
Driving an ambulance down there, he had to dodge to keep running over a body. The ground was covered with them. You notice we're wearing rubber gloves, and somebody called in and complained about this body that had laid there a few days and was decomposing, and we went up and wore those gloves and wrapped him up in a poncho and loaded him in my ambulance and took him to the cemetery. I was glad to get him to the cemetery as soon as I could. Whoever took that did a good job. Got the star out front.
Several days after the photograph was taken, Luton experienced what for him was the worst part of the war, a day when he saw the unthinkable and when the others in the photo with him came under attack.
The Japanese told them that we would eat their children, and that's the way I understand it. I don't know if that's true. And they would molest their women, and so mothers with kids threw the kids off and jumped after them. And there was a hill there, and the Japanese had a machine gun nest up there, and when the 3 ambulances drove up, they shot up the ambulances and killed 2 drivers immediately, and 1 was shot in the lung, and they loaded. The doctor said he'd never make it to the hospital, motion, and so I hauled him until he died. Not very long after that, and I took him to the cemetery.
Luton would have been the 4th ambulance driver attacked, but an officer held him back. The photo is in Dale Luton's scrapbook now, bringing back memories of those who fell. For the survivor, it also signals the end of the war and the beginning of his new life back in Oklahoma.
Within about 4 months after that picture was taken, I was back in Tulsa and getting married. I sure was glad to get home.
Marine Private First Class Dale Luton served in the South Pacific at Saipan, Tarawa, and Guadalcanal. Following the war, Luton took a job as a fireman with the Tulsa Fire Department, and that's where he stayed until he retired 32 years later. Before leaving for the South Pacific in 1942, Dale Luton had gone on a double date with 14-year-old Betty Ritter. One date. They corresponded during the 3 years he was away, and he sent her money to buy an engagement ring. She did. And a week after he returned home, Dale Luton and Betty Ritter were married. Mr. and Mrs. Luton celebrated their 63rd wedding anniversary yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
What a great story that is.
Isn't that
That's
nice?
just fantastic. Now, Dick, there is a way for people to learn more about these veterans and stories, right?
Absolutely. There's a blog, and we invite everyone to go to our website, oeta.tv. Once you're there, click on the link to Oklahoma World War II Stories. That will take you to a great website produced in cooperation with the Oklahoman and News OK. And once you're there, click on blog, and it will take you right there for additional information, and you can also post a comment.
Oh, well, after seeing that, we're going to have lots of people wanting to see what else is there.
Good.
Thank you so much for that story.
You bet.